signing. So of course the January transfer window is now open, and there is this sort of perception around the January window that, it's not good to do business then. People feel like, they come in mid-season, they don't get that adaptation period, you get inflated fees. That's sort of the general feeling around the January window. Today I wanted to see, is that really true? So we're going to have a look at every Premier League club's best ever January signing they've made, and we can kind of then see, the levels that January signings are at. Of course, I don't know every single club inside out, so I've only done a bit of research. If you guys think there's somebody else who I should put in for your club or another club, just put it in the comments below. I'm more than happy to talk and debate about it. But yeah, let's get into it. Arsenal. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Borussia Dortmund, Arsenal, 56 million. It was always expected that Aubameyang would end up at Real Madrid when he left Dortmund, but Arsenal were the winning beneficiaries when he left the German side in January 2018. He was the Gunners' most expensive signing at the time, but quickly set about repaying the faith with a stunning 10 goals in 13 Premier League games. He kept up in the next 2 seasons, scoring 60 times in all competitions, including a Premier League Golden Boot, and almost single-handedly firing Arsenal to win the FA Cup in 2020, netting twice against Man City in the semi-final and Chelsea in the final. Things did start to go wrong, however, after he signed a lucrative new contract, and just 16 months later he saw that deal torn up after falling out with Mikel Arteta. Despite the ugly end to his time at the Emirates, he still goes down as one of the most impactful January signings. Aston Villa, Tyrone Mings, Bournemouth to Villa, loan. This is a tough call. It was Ashley Young up until 3 years ago when Tyrone Mings usurped the first wide man. While he's had some tough spells at Villa, losing his England place, the Villa captaincy, and briefly his Villa starting spot too, overall it's been great. He joined on deadline day in January when Villa were in the Championship, and in his first half of the season, he helped them in a fantastic winning run to gain promotion to the Premier League. He then joined permanently the next summer and would later become captain of the side and integral to keeping Villa in the league. He then became an England international and is now still at Villa playing in Europe. It's been a wild journey for Mings, and it all happened because of that January loan. Bournemouth, Steve Cook, Brighton to Bournemouth, 150,000. I think Steve will be a Championship player, and hopefully that will be with us, said Bournemouth manager Lee Bradbury in January 2012 when he signed Steve Cook. Little did he know that the then 20-year-old centre-half would become an established Premier League regular under his Dean Court successor. Eddie Howe found success in the January transfer window with the likes of Ryan Fraser, Matt Ritchie and Adam Smith, but a man he inherited helped fuel the club's rise. Bournemouth's record Premier League appearance maker was signed from Brighton for £155,000 and went on to become a Bournemouth legend. Brentford, Christian Eriksen, free transfer. Eriksen joined Brentford in January 2022 and was one of the great footballing stories. Just half a year earlier, the playmaker had to be resuscitated on the pitch after suffering a cardiac arrest while playing for Denmark at Euro 2020. Most thought that was Eriksen's career over, but after being fitted with a type of pacemaker, he was determined to come back. After cancelling his contract with Inter, he made the move to Brentford in January and went on to provide 4 assists and score 1 goal in 12 games for the West London club, proving he could still perform at the very highest level. Those were crucial for Brentford as this was their first season in the Prem, and before his move they were falling down the table and in danger of being in a relegation battle, but he turned that all around. His performances were enough to earn him a summer move to Man United. One of the great January signings, both in terms of impact he had on the pitch for Brentford and the story behind it. Brighton, Moises Caicedo, independent to Brighton. In 2021, on deadline day, Caicedo joined English side Brighton on a 4.5-year deal for an undisclosed fee. Now, Caicedo initially struggled and was immediately loaned out to Belgium, but had to be recalled after injuries for Brighton, and upon his return, he stepped up. Caicedo was one of Brighton's key players last season, as Brighton qualified for Europe for the first ever time in their history. But the main reason he's on this list is because of his financial impact for Brighton. Caicedo would be sold in the summer for a British transfer record fee of $115 million to Chelsea, so clearly he was a very successful January signing. Burnley, Ashley Barnes, Brighton to Burnley. The first cash signing made by Dyche at Burnley, Ashley Barnes arrived to complement the Danny Ings-Sam Vokes pairing, and he did more than that. He became a fan favourite, guiding Burnley to promotion, and then proved his capabilities at Premier League level, becoming Burnley's leading scorer in Premier League history. Barnes achieved 3 promotions with the club, playing over 250 games across 8 years with the club, and was well worth the money paid. Chelsea, Gary Cahill, Bolton Wanderers to Chelsea, £7 million. Cahill left relegation fighting Bolton for Chelsea in January 2012, but he first must have thought he had swooped one crisis club for another when Andrea Villas-Boas was sacked less than 2 months after he had arrived. But after having an initial peripheral role in the team, Cahill shone under successor Roberto Di Matteo and came into his own in the Champions League. He helped Chelsea pull off a dramatic comeback win over Napoli, knock out the mighty Barcelona, and then see off Bayern Munich in their own stadium to win the trophy for the first time. Cahill was no one-season wonder though, and he was crucial to Chelsea's league title success under Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte. He won a total of 8 trophies with the Blues and was named the PFA Team of the Year on 3 occasions. Not bad at all for $7 million. Crystal Palace, Wilfried Zaha, Man United to Palace. It will forever be weird that Wilfried Zaha's first ever Premier League start was for Cardiff. He helped Crystal Palace earn promotion in his final season before leaving for Man United in 2013. His well-documented struggles at Old Trafford meant he was loaned out twice and played just 4 times for David Moyes before returning to Selhurst Park on loan in August 2014. It came as no surprise when that deal was made permanent in the following transfer window, and he would be an absolute success. Zaha is comfortably now Palace's all-time record top goal scorer, 32 goals ahead of Christian Benteke in second place, and despite being by far and away too good for Palace at points, he stayed loyal with the club and is a Palace legend. Everton, Seamus Coleman, Sligo Rovers to Everton at £60,000. In terms of value for money, you can make the case that Coleman is the best signing in Premier League history. After receiving a tip-off, David Moyes plucked the fullback from the League of Ireland in January 2009 for £60,000. And no, I haven't missed out a 0 or 2. Coleman could not have an instant impact as he had to undergo surgery almost immediately after joining Everton, and he later joined Blackburn alone for half a season. But he has remained a Toffee since August 2010, playing under 12 managers. He has made over 400 appearances for Everton, contributing 60 goals. That's £146 per appearance and £1,000 per goal or assist in terms of his transfer fee. He has also been one of their most consistent performers as well as their most loyal and passionate. Fulham, Brett Hangeland. The Cottagers have done well out of the January market. Brian McBride and Clint Dempsey arrived in the mid-season window, as did Alexander Mitrovic, who was very, very close in being picked. But the centre-back Brett Hangeland left a huge mark on Craven Cottage. He was one of Roy Hodgson's first signings at Fulham in 2008 from Copenhagen, and the defender became a stalwart through one of the greatest periods in the club's history, with all of his 7 seasons at Fulham spent in the Premier League. He made 270 appearances before he was released by Felix Magath, but he was an incredible servant for the club. Liverpool, Virgil van Dijk. Southampton to Liverpool, 75 million. Honourable mentions to Luis Suarez and Philip Coutinho, but the captain Virgil takes number 1. Liverpool had been courting Virgil van Dijk for a long time and had hoped to sign him in the summer of 2017, so much that Jurgen Klopp arranged a private meeting with the defender to tempt him to swap Southampton for Merseyside. That meeting infuriated Southampton and led to them increasing their asking price for Van Dijk, quashing hopes of moving in the summer. Liverpool were made to wait until the end of the year, and in late December finally agreed to pay 75 million for the Dutchman. At the time, it was a world record fee for a defender and led to Klopp being accused of hypocrisy. But Van Dijk proved to be worth every penny. He was the missing piece of Klopp's jigsaw and stabilised their defence, helping them reach the Champions League final 4 months later, and then winning Europe's biggest prize in 2019. He was also crucial to them, winning a first league title in 30 years, and when he suffered a serious knee injury, the following campaign Liverpool effectively collapsed. He is now back to his best and after coming agonisingly close to another league title in 2022 and losing the Champions League final, with his towering presence leading the Reds, they are in another title race. Luton, Pelly Ruddock, West Ham to Luton. When Pelly Ruddock joined Luton in January 2014, he was playing in the National League, the 5th tier of English football. Fast forward to 2023 and Mpanzu is still in orange playing Premier League football. He's actually been with the club for a decade and for a record 4 promotions, making him the first footballer to climb from the non-league tiers of English football to the Premier League with the same club. Mpanzu, who was not satisfied with limited game time at Championship West Ham, agreed to go out on loan to Luton. He impressed and joined Burnley in January, and that proved to not only be a great January signing, but arguably the best ever signing in Luton's history. Man United, Nemanja Vidic. Spartak Moscow to Man United, 7 million. Now there were a lot to choose from here, and in terms of pure instant impact, you would probably go for Bruno Fernandes. Andy Cole gets a shout, but for me the best signing has to be Nemanja Vidic. The Serbian was an obscure figure when he arrived at Old Trafford, and no one could imagine that he would inspire United to 5 Premier League titles and 3 Champions League finals. Vidic formed an unstoppable centre-back partnership with Rio Ferdinand, which provided the platforms for Sir Alex Ferguson's last great team. His ferocious and unforgiving style of play made him the ideal partner for the calm and smooth Ferdinand. A fan favourite for his full-blooded style, Vidic became United's captain in 2011, and their defence has never quite been the same since he left in 2014. Man City, Edin Dzeko, £27 million, Wolfsburg to Man City. If the champion is City, then I would say a Man City player, and if I have to choose, I choose Dzeko, said Jose Mourinho when asked for his choice of Player of the Year in 2014. The kind of player he is. He's not just a goal scorer. He assists, he plays, he behaves, he's fair. He doesn't dive. The Portuguese added, and that sums up this signing. Dzeko arguably never earned that adulation he deserved at the Etihad, with a respectable 50 goals in 130 games, of which 74 were starts. Only Sergio Aguero scored more goals across the club's first 2 title-winning seasons than the Bosnian. And of course he played a part in one of the best moments in Prem history on the final day versus QPR, which people sometimes forget, as he scored the equaliser in the 92nd minute of that game that set up the famous Aguero moment. Newcastle, Kieran Trippier, Atletico Madrid to Newcastle at 12 million. Many people questioned Trippier's motives when he left La Liga champions Atletico in January 2022 to join relegation-fighting Newcastle, just weeks after the club's Saudi takeover, and he had a nightmare debut as Cambridge United knocked his new side out of the FA Cup. Trippier, however, has proved to be a transformative figure for Newcastle, an inspirational leader who continued to travel with the team to matches in his first season even after sustaining an injury. Once recovered, he spearheaded Newcastle's charge to the Carabao Cup final and to qualify for the Champions League for the first time in 20 years. He has averaged 1 goal contribution every 3 games, outstanding numbers for a defender, while his experience has helped ensure Eddie Howe's side had the joint best defence in the league last season. Honourable mention to Bruno Guimaraes, who also joined that window and has had just as big an impact. Sheffield United, Oliver Norwood. The metronome in Sheffield United's midfield, Oliver Norwood has been a great servant for the club. After joining the club initially on loan, his transfer was made permanent in January when Sheffield United were in League One. But now Norwood has played 3 seasons in the Premier League for the club, showing his incredible journey and service. He has been a regular in Sheffield United's best spell in their recent history and is their current captain in the Premier League. A fantastic signing. Tottenham, Dele Alli, MK Dons to Spurs 5 million. Barely a single eyelid was batted when Tottenham rounded off a quiet January 2015 window by making a teenage Dele Alli their only signing. The midfielder arrived from MK Dons with a huge reputation, but was hardly expected to make his mark on the first team anytime soon. He made his England debut later that year, became a 2-time BFA Young Player of the Year, and was twice named to the BFA Team of the Year. So I think he definitely made an impact. It did go woefully wrong for a number of reasons after that, but for a while Ali was a sensation and gave Spurs fans some incredible moments. West Ham, Paolo Di Canio. Sheffield Wednesday to West Ham, 1.5 million. Di Canio made himself a legend at West Ham following his move from Wednesday in January 1999. He arrived with his reputation disgraced, having shoved referee Paul Alcock to the floor after being sent off in a game against Arsenal. The Italian never played again for Wednesday after that, but Harry Redknapp took him to West Ham after he had served his suspension, and he made a massive impact. He scored 5 goals in 13 games for the Hammers during the closing months of the season, and then netted 18 in the following campaign, including an iconic goal that is cemented in Premier League history. Only Jesse Lingard loan spell can compete in terms of having a big impact at West Ham as quickly as Di Canio did. And finally Wolves, Sylvan Ebanks Blake, Plymouth to Wolves. Since the Premier League was established in 1992, only 3 players have been the top goalscorer in England's second tier more than once. Of that trio, only 2 have won the Golden Boot in consecutive seasons. John Aldridge worked wonders for Tranmere, and Sylvan Evans-Blake took on the mantle with ease over a decade later. He netted 23 times in the 2007-8 season, despite joining Wolves midway through the season, and then fired his new side to the Premier League with 25 goals in the Championship the season later. He really is one of the deadliest Championship strikers of all time, despite not being able to replicate that in the Prem. His impact getting Wolves 2 promotions as the Golden Boot winner cannot be disputed. So there we go. Those were your club's best ever January signing. Let me know if you agree or disagree with those picks. And if you have enjoyed, please leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see